So, Waxwork, 1988, rated R, 1 hour and 35 minutes, B movie horror. Does anyone remember this movie? It sort of reminds you of Fright Night or The Gate, or, there was a lot of movies in the kind of late 80s. Maybe there was a lot of special effects houses that had, I don't know, they put a lot of money and a lot of effort into the special effects in these old films like Cellar Dweller and things like that. If you've never seen any of them films, they actually have phenomenal special effects. I mean, the special effects are probably way better than most of the shite that Hollywood creates nowadays. Like these big $500 million movies, and they have terrible special effects. There's a werewolf in this movie, and I guarantee it looks cooler than any of the new werewolf movies. I don't know how accurate this is, but I always check it. So budget $3 million, so it was probably intended to be Vestron Pictures. I know a little bit about Vestron, but not that much. I'll look it up in a while. But 808,000, so it barely got a release, or it flopped. I'm not sure which. But look at that poster art. It's like a bad acid trip. That's another thing from these old movies. I mean, it's been talked about to death, but the fucking the poster art on these things was amazing. I remember browsing the video store when I was like 8. You know what I mean? And you see things like I still remember the cover for Curtains, and there was a sort of one, like I think it was Life Force. Had a you'd look at the covers and like whatchamacallit, not Beastmaster, the other one. They just had awesome covers. And you'd be there and you'd look at them and, your childhood imagination, it'd do all the work. So when you saw the movie, eventually, like, it didn't really matter if the movie sucked. And a lot of the time they weren't that bad, like, They actually weren't that bad. So, who was in... So, Zach Galligan, you might remember Zach Galligan from Gremlins. I don't know what happened to that guy's career in that. Like, he never really became a big star. I mean, it's kind of notable they're like known for like Gremlins and Waxwork. Surviving with Molly Ringwald. What's this? Promising student Rick Brogan, discovers that his father, whom he idolizes, is cheating on his mother. Heartbroken, he finds comfort in the arms of an old crush, but her father opposes the relationships and pushes Rick over the edge. This has a 7.4. 2.5 hour movie. But we'll talk about Molly Ringwald another day. Oh look, Ellen Burstyn is in it. She's the woman from the new Exorcist movie. It was great. No, I'm only messing, but she was the one of the original Exorcist, which is pretty awesome, right? I mean, it's got a Heather O'Rourke. She's from Poltergeist. That poor girl died. If you never heard the Heather O'Rourke story, it's very, very sad. There's some kind of deep, dark internet stuff about that, but the story goes, the poor girl died when she was 12. Not long after the Poltergeist 3 came out, which unfortunately was by far the worst of the Poltergeist films. But again, compared to what comes out nowadays, all three of those movies are arguably good. But the reason I stopped again was because River Phoenix is in the movie. And you could kind of, just as a side note, you could kind of go, the Poltergeist is supposed to be a curse movie, hence that girl dying, and her sister, the girl who played her sister in the movie, also got murdered by her boyfriend. And then you got all the Exorcist stuff as well, and poor River Phoenix died. So, long story short, do not star in Surviving. It's an ironic title. See, this is what happens, I'm trying to focus on Waxwork, and I ended up just through Zach Galligan. I wanted to see who Deborah Foreman was. And I wasn't even going to bother clicking on but that was cool because we found that Molly Ringwald movie with River Phoenix. And, so I'm going to watch that sometime. Okay, she's the girl from Valley Girl. Have you seen Valley Girl? It was a terrible remake of that movie that only came out a while ago. Valley Girl is kind of a hidden gem, cult, fun movie. Back when Nicolas Cage was an up and comer. She was in April Fool's Day as well. Okay. So that's who she is. If you never saw April Fool's Day, it's a pretty decent slasher movie. She was in Real Genius, another cracker. The last thing she's after doing is The Demons Within. Let's keep going. I was going to go to Waxwork too, and this whole thing, the whole point of this is about who directed it, Anthony Hickox, and I believe that he directed also. God rest him. Oh look, October 9th. That's the same year I got married. I mean, same day, not the same year. Speaking of werewolves, look at that. So Waxwork was his first movie. Waxwork's 2, Lost in Time. Oh look, then he got Hellraiser 3, Hell on Earth. Now, as far as I know, Hellraiser 3, Hell on Earth was theatrically released. It was definitely released. It probably didn't even did relatively okay. When I was a child, I thought that was the best one. I suppose it's the most kind of like movie 80. It kind of has a structure to it that was like kind of mainstream. It's actually a lot like Masters of the Universe, in a way. The way they go over the Earth and they're kind of going around the place, destroying the place. It's actually pretty much like Dolph Lundgren's Masters of the Universe. Yeah, look, it grossed $12 million. That's not too bad. I mean, for what it is. I mean, they probably expected more out of it, but so he's done theatrically released movies. Anthony Hickox. Okay, so Warlock 2, Lost in Time. I see another couple of movies I'd like to talk about there, but we'll stick to the plan. In the sequel, a couple must use a portal through time to defeat evil. Okay. Martin Kemp. If you're American, you don't know who Martin Kemp is, but he was in EastEnders, and he was in Spandau Ballet, I believe. There's a weird twist of fate. See, October 10th, 1961. And the guy that directed Anthony Hickox, he died on October 9th, 2023. So, the world's not real. It's all a AI generated matrix. It's nothing but little coincidences that make you think you have schizophrenia. Or maybe just clicking through all these stupid links makes you think you have schizophrenia. But anyway, he starred in a movie called The Craze, which is well worth watching if you've never seen it. It's a pretty decent gangster movie. It's based on a true story. If you're English, obviously you know who the Cray twins are. But if you're American, you have no clue who they are probably. Tom Hardy was in a sequel. Well, not a sequel. A reimagining of the story or whatever. This is much better than the Tom Hardy one. Tom Hardy played the twins in the sequel. Sequel? It's not a sequel. It's not a remake. It's just the same story. I don't even remember the name. It was a forgettable movie. So this is what I wanted to do. So who's this? Monica Schneer, Bruce Campbell. Okay. So look, there's a decent cast in this. Martina Sert. Is that the one from? Yeah, it is. Yeah, I was thinking it was what's her name from Star Trek: The Next Generation, Deanna Troi. I don't know if I'd call myself a Trekkie, but I'm not an anti-Trekkie. I'm sort of, I like it as much as I like Marvel films, or I like, Sophie Ward. Okay, you know who she was? She was in, say it for me. That's from Young Sherlock Holmes. There you go, look. I remember that movie. That's actually I think that's a fantastic film. It's very much in the vein. I mean, George Lucas produced it, and it sort of has overlaps with It has overlaps with both the new Harry Potter, and it has overlaps with I bet you J.K. Rowling liked that movie. I mean, I have no proof of this, but I bet you she liked that movie, and it feels like if you mix the Temple of Doom with Harry Potter, but came out before it, and it has a really interesting occult, kind of like it's actually. The Sherlock Holmes movie that Guy Ritchie, actually he had to have liked it, because I tell you one thing about that, right? So the Sherlock Holmes movie that Guy Ritchie directed, okay, it was about a Freemasonic plot to, I think it was to blow up the House of Commons or something. But this dude, Nicolas Rowe, the only other thing that I think he was notable for that I can think of was that he was in Guy Ritchie's Lock, Stock and Two Smoking Barrels. So, proving, without a shadow of a doubt, that Guy Ritchie was a fan of, there he is, yeah? He was Jay and that. He was like some stoner kind of drug dealer guy or something, from what I remember. But that proves that he ripped it off. It's a rip-off. That's what it is. Guy Ritchie ripped off young Sherlock Holmes, and so did J.K. Rowling. And but it has it has the first ever 3D animated like CGI thing ever in a film, I believe. Well, maybe it wasn't the first. It was the first, to be clear, where the actors interact with a character, and the character was the stained glass window attack, and it was kind of about like hallucinogenic drugs in a way, because like, people were getting shot with these hallucinogenic drugs, and they were having hallucinations, and you know, the hallucinations would manifest as your worst possible fucking whatever. But that's who that girl is anyway. Oh yeah, no, this is the one I wanted to check out. Look, Sunday, the Vampire in Retreat. What's this? Sundown, I should say. Vampires residing in a town where sunscreen, a Van Helsing descendant arrives, leading to humorous situations as their paths intersect. Okay. David Carradine. I've seen it. He must have worked with that guy a lot, and Bruce Campbell, so they must have been friends with this, or at least had a working relationship. But this Jim Metzler guy was in the other movie as well. Deborah Foreman. Look, all the same people. Let's take a look at some of the photos of this. I never heard of this film at all. You know, when I was a kid, actually, I thought Bruce Campbell was a major movie star because I saw Army of Darkness, and Army of Darkness was kind of like theatrically released film, and you know, it just came out at the right time. It came out. I remember seeing it around the same time I saw The Crow, and you know, both movies were fucking awesome at the time, and you know, he was just so funny and kind of had a lot of charisma, you know, and you just assumed he was like, the way he looked and everything, he was a major leading man. And the original Evil Dead movies weren't really in the video stores in Ireland because it was this whole thing about video nasties, and they didn't. Maybe you could get two, but you couldn't get one. So I didn't see them when I was young, but I saw Army of Darkness first before I saw the others, you see. But Morgan Brittany, we'll check her out. Like most of them, wanted to be an actress. She was born in 1951. Oh, look. That's Ron Howard. The Andy Griffith Show. So she was a TV star from the 60s. You know, if you don't know who Ron Howard is, you shouldn't be on this channel. Ted McGinley. He looks like the guy that was in Married with Children. Oh, he's in Revenge of the Nerds. Actually, he was in Married with Children, was he? Let's take a look. True Beverly Hills. I'm almost certain that guy was in Major League 2. I know that guy's head, you see, but I seen that. Did I see it there? Yeah. He's the guy from Married with Children. Well, you know, there's an interesting little connection then, because I mentioned Fright Night at the beginning of this, and Amanda Bierce, who was Marcy Darcy, was the girl in Fright Night. Look at that cool poster. So, and that guy was in the Revenge of the Nerds movies, and he was like the jock. And if you haven't seen Revenge of the Nerds, especially if you're young, you should probably watch them. Are they cinematic masterpieces? Absolutely not. But you know, they were like part of the whole Animal House kind of wave of comedy movies. And like, again, in the 80s and the early 90s, you could walk through a video store and it was like about a bazillion movies, you know, that had posters. Like, let's find one of the posters actually, to prove my point. I remember them well. Revenge of the Nerds 2. There you go. But yeah, they were all sort of like, this was, I suppose technically it was more like Porky's, but wasn't Porky's more like Animal House? I think Animal House predates all those movies. There was like loads of posters like this, and fun times, and they were always like happy, and um, actually looking at the painting now, it's quite low budget compared to like say National Lampoon's Vacation or European Vacation. I believe what's his name? I think it was Boris Vallejo did the poster for that. It was an awesome poster. Where the fuck am I? What am I doing? What is happening? We're on Revenge of the North. Where do we start? Oh, Morgan Brittany, Scarlett O'Hara wore. She actually does look like Vivian Lee. Look. So if you're young and you don't know, I recently watched for the first time Gone with the Wind. My wife trying to get me to watch it for years, and I kept going, oh, I'll watch it sometime. And I actually really thought it was great. Yeah, it's kind of one of those movies that it kind of sweeps you along. And at the beginning, I wasn't really feeling it that much, but by the end, I really felt like I'd kind of, I don't know, just had an experience. It's worth it for the ending. He'd had enough of her. It's going to be an experiment to see does anyone like find this shit interesting. Because this is like, I mean, I find it interesting, but maybe I bore the bollocks off people. Um, Anthony Hickox, and I could talk all day there about Warlock, the Armageddon, full Eclipse. I literally want to click on Print Valiant, Stormcatcher, and Jill Rips, and Contaminated Man, and Last Run. To a lesser extent, Federal Protection. So we're going to have to pick one or two and leave it at that. So let's see. What are we going to pick? Do you want to see Warlock or do you want to see Full Eclipse? We'll watch both of those and then we'll get the fuck out of here. Warlock 2, the Armageddon. So there's a whole thing about Warlock and the video company, the movie company that made Warlock 1. I think it's Trimark Pictures. And their first, I think Warlock was their first theatrical release. Or if it wasn't their first, it was their second. And it did decent money in the cinema. Like, for what it was their biggest like hit. What did it do? Warlock, starring Julian Sands. As a side note, just before we go further, poor Julian Sands died on a hiking trip. He went for a walk and he never came home. And that happened in 2023. So, actually, him and Anthony Hickox died the same year. Kind of sad. Makes me feel old, I tell you. But, Julian Sands is one of these people like that. He if you know him, you know him. Like he was in Arachnophobia, for example. He was the spider expert, and he had this kind of commanding voice. And he probably should have been a bigger actor than he was. He did okay, but he was, he could have been a Bond villain, that kind of way. He was like this deranged pimp dude in Leaving Las Vegas. Elizabeth Shue had to get away from him, from what I remember. But he was kind of tragic as well. Yuri, yeah. Boxing Helena, that's what finished his career. Boxing Helena is the movie where a guy basically cuts off the limbs of a woman he has kidnapped. It was part of the whole erotic thriller subgenre of the time, and Kim Basinger famously got out of that movie. I guess she decided it wasn't a good look, especially after doing the Mickey Rourke movie 9.5 weeks. Maybe she thought like, oh, this would be good for your career, and then they were like, oh wait, now think about this. You're going to be, your arms and legs are going to be removed, so you could be a sex object. So she probably thought like, no, I'm not going to do that, and she got sued. Like they sued the bollocks off her for it. Ugh. What a mad one now. I need to get out of this. Right, we're doing Full Eclipse, and I fucking give up. Although Prince Valiant, come on, we have to do Prince Valiant. The LA Police Department have a special team of officers with a talent in producing big crime. The team leader has an excellent track record for crime reduction in other big cities, but his methods are unconventional. And so is he. He's a werewolf. Now, that sounds to me like it was probably going to be a TV pilot. I could be wrong about that, but I noticed it's got Patsy Kensit. She is the girl from Lethal Weapon 2. She was kind of like the next big film actress for a while. Now, I remember when she was like pretty famous a long, long time ago now at this stage. She was offered the role of Emily on Friends, but turned it down, you see? Ah, she was married to Liam Gallagher. Now, also Bruce Payne. Now, what's interesting about this is Bruce Payne starred as Julian Sands' replacement in Warlock 3, which that's kind of strange, right? And I just noticed something else too. So look, he's in Warlock 3, The End of Innocence. He was almost kind of like, he was like the bad guy in Passenger 57 as well. Um, and, he was like, kind of like Timu Bond villain dude. Like say if you couldn't get Gary Oldman to be, and your budget got dropped or it was straight to video, like he's like Timu Gary Oldman villain dude, and he's not bad. Like he's not a bad like actor or anything like that. I don't mean to call him Timu. It's just you know what I mean. He's the same type of unhinged evil English dude. I mean, he even starred in a plane movie just like Gary Oldman did. But like in Passenger 57 is arguably as entertaining as Air Force One. But anyway, I happened to rent this movie back in the late 90s. I fell for it because I was kind of a fan of Warlock 1 and 2, and it's shit. Don't ever watch it. Well, maybe watch it if you want to laugh. Maybe it's funny now. I have no idea, but it's how can a horror flick be dreary? This is how. That's exactly what I mean. The Unnameable 2. Wow. I'd love to click on that, but I'm going to leave it. Look at that thing. No, I'm not doing it. Not doing it. Oh, fuck it, go on. Creature of demonic nature. Too hideous to have a name. This looks fucking brilliant. 5.1. Look at that thing. I never heard of this movie. Awesome. H.P. Lovecraft wrote it. They resurrected H.P. Lovecraft from the dead, paid him a load of money. The Unnameable. I never heard of that movie. John Rhys Davis is in it too. Oh, made for $1 million. Remind me if anyone cares, right? We'll go deep. We'll do the exact same thing with Jean Paul Oulet. Other time, not today. Full Eclipse. How did I never see this when I was a kid? Like I would have been all over that. No, I think. Oh yeah, no, sorry. I just wanted to say one more thing about Bruce Payne. It's very important if you don't hear this, right? Warlock 3, The End of Innocence. Okay, so he's the bad guy in Warlock 3, The End of Innocence. And look, he's the bad. Actually, forget about Warlock 3. Just forget about it. Who cares? But Highlander Endgame, I presume he's the bad guy in that too. Um, that's the shit Highlander movie. I never. I think I probably watched it, but I. I mean, I don't know that he's the bad guy. Right? I literally don't know, but I'm going to presume he was the bad guy. She stayed off a minute ago. Um, but what's fun about this is that the main bad guy in Highlander 3 was Mario Van Peebles, who starred in the Werewolf movie. And him and Christopher Lambert were good friends, I believe, because they were in Gunmen 2 together. Actually, maybe they weren't good friends. I worked with a lot of people I don't like more than once. Fucking Full Eclipse. One last movie from Anthony Hickox, right? And we're out of here because I was interested in this Prince Valiant one. Remember that show on that cartoon show? Was that also called Prince Valiant? With Catherine Hegel before she was a big star, and I think that movie had production values, and that's that Stephen Meyer guy. So he was in True Blood. That's what he's most known for. True Blood was one of these fucking shows. I kind of started watching it and realized way too late it was absolutely shite. Look, this has a good cast: Perlman, Warwick Davis, Joanna Lumley, Udo Kier. Oh, yeah, he's kind of a hidden gem director, this Anthony Hickox. Anyway, that was Anthony Hickox. I mean, it wasn't a bio by any means. It was just a deep dive through some of his movies, and we did a few side quests there. But I don't, I'm the kind of person like, I mean, the main plot is fun in a video game, but like, the side quests are where the genre really. Because if you just stick to the fucking main plot all the time, life is fucking boring. You need to take side quests.